too long. We are the children of Israel. We are Bani Israel.
That's right.
We are the biblical Israelites.
Well, so we can come out of this captivity and start worshipping God as we're intended to. So if you love someone, you tell them when they're going up. If you love your child, you're going to tell your child, don't touch the iron. If you love your child, you're going to say, don't walk too close to the river or the lake, because you'll fall in. That's love. It might not be nice to them. They might want to do the stuff that you're telling them not to. But because you love them and you want to protect them, you tell them. And that's what we're out here to do, to wake up the children of Israel. The Most High says, wake up Jacob and show Israel their sins. Tell Israel what they're doing wrong. And there's a lot that we are doing wrong. Like that brother walking around effeminate. That's wrong according to the Most High. Telling us, pointers, to not lift up our voice. When the scripture says, lift up your voice like a trumpet. Would I listen to a man or will I listen to the Most High? Why? Because he's offended. Why? Because he's offended, because he's effeminate. Why would you be offended at a man raising his voice? Do we raise our voice because everyone needs to hear?
That's right.
We're not out here to have single conversations. We didn't come out here specifically to have one conversation. The same way Noah wouldn't have. Noah weren't having single conversations. Noah was building and telling people, look, a flood's coming. Are you going to help? Come and help build. So we've got somewhere to go. But just like the people around, just like the people going shopping, going to get food, going to get their coffee, they're just in a stupor, in a daze, believing that judgment's not on its way. Get me Psalm 24. Get me Psalm 24, and then it's Job 9:24 after as well. Because, like I said, the place we're in now and the situation we're in now, the government are telling people where they can go, what they can do, locking off borders, believing they control something, believing that they have a say. There's that rapper who has paid money to someone who believes they have the power to give him a planet. So now he has a planet named after him, or he owns a planet. When none of these people own land, really, anything that they have, the Most High gave them. And even though he gave them it still belongs to him. Mm-hmm. And he'll still do what he wants with it, whether they like it or not. Mm-hmm. And though they mess with the weather, the Most High can still do what he wants with the weather. Everything goes according to what he says. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that happens that he doesn't have a say-so in. Read that.
Psalm chapter 24, reading from verse 1. The earth is the Most High's.
The earth's who?
The earth is the Most High's.
No, the earth, the government.
The earth is the Most High's.
And what else?
And the fullness thereof.
So the whole earth, not part of the earth. Every single part of the world, even the heavens, he owns. They belong to him. Read on.
The world and they that dwell therein.
And they that dwell therein. So all of the people you see on the planet, they belong to the Most High. They belong to the Most High. You're right, brother. So you say you believe in the Most High. Where did you find out you're an Israelite? If you don't mind me asking. Huh? Bank holiday? Oh, your cousin told you. So do you know how you're an Israelite? How, if someone asks you how, do you say you're an Israelite? Oh, okay, so let me give you some understanding, because the point is, the world will say to you, if you went to someone now and I said, where are you from? You wouldn't say, oh, I'm an Israelite. We don't say that, because we're going to have to say, oh, I'm from here and here. So a good thing to understand is how to explain to people how we know we're Israelites. Like my father, he's Jamaican as well. We're from Jamaica. So how do we explain to people that the people who got to here from Jamaica and were in transatlantic slave trade, how do we know that all these different nations, because you know some Africans are Israelites, the Igbo tribe, the Yoruba, anyone from the Bantu tribe, they're all our brothers and our family. Some of the African Americans, the Native Americans, all of them are our family. We're all Israelites. And all that happened was because we didn't keep the law, statutes, commandments, the Most High punished us. And I'm going to show you that in scripture. Get me Deuteronomy chapter 28 and read verse 1 first. Start from verse 1. This is the main point that you can give people. If anyone asks you, how do you know you're Israelite? You're just saying it. How do we know we're Jews? Is this your son? So he would be an Israelite because our lineage, our heritage stems from the father, through the seed line. So that's my father. He's from the Caribbean. He's from Jamaica. We're his offspring. So the seed goes from the man into the woman, and then the offspring, whatever the father is, because that's how we determined our lineage. So he's an Israelite. Your family, whoever your siblings are, they're Israelite. So let's read this, and now you know. So in Deuteronomy chapter 28, it gives you the reason that we know that we are the children of Israel. And it's important to know that because there's loads of blessings and promises that come with it. There's loads of blessings and promises. Read that.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and reading from verse 1.
Do you brothers believe in the Most High?
Brothers,
Do you believe in God? Do you believe in God?
come and talk to us. Come and talk to us.
5 minutes. And that's what I'm saying, but they've got more important things. But they're most likely Israelites. But they need to be told. You've been told, so you've got a blessing, the Most High in you. And you got to understand, for you to stop and listen, you know, your footsteps ain't determined by you. Everywhere you go, the Most High has determined where you're going to go. The Most High commands your footsteps. And it's for you, so when you learn that you're an Israelite, when your son grows up, you can teach your son, we're Israelites. Because we're the people in the book. Do you believe in the Bible?
Come on. Do you believe in the Bible? Come on, talk to us then. Come on.
And that's what I mean. So let's read this. I'm going to give you the understanding because the Most High made you want to listen.
So this is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and reading verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Most High will set thee on high above all nations of the earth, and all these blessings shall come upon thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
So the Most High said to the nation of Israel back then, he said, listen, if you do everything I say, you keep my law, statutes, and commandments, I'm going to make you above all nations. I'm going to make you the best, the highest, my favorite, above everyone. And then he lists blessings that we'll get if we do that. And there's a whole list of blessings. But the important part comes after. Let's jump to verse 15.
Verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
So now he's going to tell us what's going to happen if we don't listen. Because this is what happened to us, we didn't listen.
To observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So then he said, if we don't listen to him, curses are going to come on us. And these are some of the curses. So one of the main curses is one of the reasons we know we're Israelites. Get me verse 45, is it? 28 and 45. Because the world will have us believe that Jesus Christ, who their world calls Jesus Christ, looked like that. But he didn't look like that. He looked like you and your son. He looked like my father and us. He was a dark-skinned man with woolly hair. He didn't have long, straight hair. He came from Israel, which is on the same tectonic plate as Africa. So he was a dark-skinned man. So the point is, some people say, well, why does it matter? Color doesn't matter now. But the truth matters. The truth matters. You can't say it doesn't matter, because if it didn't matter, why would the Most High, why would who the world calls God, have it written down in the scriptures? So that in the end times, they're going to try and change the image, and we can look back and say, well, no, they're teaching us liars. So let's read verse 45.
Verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee.
And 46.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
So he said those curses that he's going to go through, or that he's gone through, are going to be on us for a sign and a wonder. That means the way you can, and on our seed. So he's saying the way you're going to determine or know or be able to identify the children of Israel is by the curses. And that's how we know who we are. Let's get one of the curses and let's see who fits that narrative. Because those people in the land right now, the ones who claim to be Jewish, they aren't the children of Israel. So let's read it. Yeah, verse 68.
Verse 68.
Yeah, just this one scripture, and then you can head up.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again.
Yeah.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen,
And that's exactly
and no man shall buy you.
That's exactly what happened to. Nowhere else in history has anyone else gone through that, who was sold to their enemy on ships. Search for it. Search for it. There's no other nation that ever went through that.
And when it says Egypt on there, it doesn't mean the literal Egypt. Egypt is a Greek word meaning bondage. So when it says Egypt again, it means we're going into bondage again. And it says with ships, because Israel and Egypt were close to each other. There was no body of water we had to go across against Egypt. We could have walked there, so that doesn't make sense unless you put the understanding that Egypt there, it means bondage.
Okay, so I'm going to leave you with it. I gave you that. There's a number on there. There's a website with all our information, booklets. There's a YouTube channel. Check it out because the information is important. It's not the time we're living in. You can see COVID-19, all this pandemic. The world is coming. The end is coming.
What's your name? Gabriel. Gabriel. That isn't normal, right? That isn't normal. Back in the ancient days, they had what we call indentured servitude, right? So indentured servitude means if I found myself poor and this man was wealthy, right? I would serve him. Right? Why would I serve him? So I could get clothing, I could get food, whatever. So I would be indebted to him for a certain amount of time. Now in the Israelite culture, now once I'm indebted to him, right? Then I'm indebted to him for 7 years. Now I have to serve him for that period of time because I've sold myself to him. But not that he's treating me bad. He's just there to help me get by. Now, if one of my family members, now this Terence is a family member now, and he sees me in a poor state and sees me serving this man, and he says, well, nah, I'm going to take care of him. He can come and buy me, right? What's it called? It's called redeeming. He can come and he can say, well, how much, would you lose? How much would it cost? So if he came, I'd done 4 years or 3 years left. He went to the man who I was serving and said, how much does he owe you? And he gave him the amount. Then he would give him the money and then he would take me out to that. Right? Now this here, this isn't that.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Right? This isn't that. Now, so what happened is that the Most High brought us into this situation. Right now, for him to bring us into that situation, he didn't take one captivity. We didn't take one, we had to go through Babylon. Right? We had to go through Medo Persia, we had to go through Greece, and then we had to go through Rome. Right? Then at the end of the Roman captivity, right, after the Most High had broken us down, then he brought this on us. It's the last one. So that's the last curse. So after that last curse, right, we have a chance to be redeemed. Now how did we get the chance to be redeemed? The person who they call Jesus Christ, he came for us. He didn't come for the whole world. Get the scripture before we go, because the reason why I'm telling you is to give you the basic foundation, right? Because the scriptures are not religion. It's not religion. It's to do with the things which come on earth, right? Now, the reason why you're here today is because the Most High wants to wake you up. Whether or not you choose to wake up, that's up to you. But he wants to, or else you wouldn't be hearing this today. Right? Now read what Messiah says. Right?
Matthew chapter 15 and verse 24.
Right?
But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
No, to everybody.
But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
To Christianity.
But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Everybody who calls upon his name.
But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
And that is the Messiah. Right? So anybody saying that he came for everybody, saying that it's either him that's lying or they're lying, and you gotta make a choice which one it is, because Scripture says you shall know what?
You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free.
You shall know, and that's why this story here, he says about the truth. He says the truth is important. The truth is important. So knowing that was a Negro is important. Knowing that fact is important. Why? Because he came through the tribe of Judah. Now, if you're a child of Israel, then he becomes your kinsman. Remember I told you about kinsman redeemer? Because you can only be redeemed by your kinsman, by your family. You couldn't be redeemed by anyone else. Right? So that's why Messiah came to redeem the house of Israel. That's why he came as an Israelite. Right? Now, this situation here, what we went through, we have not been cancelled. We have not been redeemed from it. We have not been, we have not been given any reparation. They haven't given us back our history. They haven't given us back our books. They haven't given us back our heritage, our language, because the historians know, they know where everybody comes from. They know. It's a fact, they know. And they haven't redeemed us, right? This is what the Scripture says. It says, and no man will what? Redeem you. And no man shall buy you. That means no man shall redeem us. Remember, we had Martin Luther King, we had Malcolm X, we had Marcus Garvey, Nat Turner, and not just them, we had many other leaders in the continent of Africa. Because there are a lot of African tribes who are Israelites, Israelites, although they didn't go through this part of the curse. But some of the other curses, part of the curses, they went through, they did go into bondage, right? But we were the ones who were, our ancestry, our heritage, our lineage, our ancestors, they were the ones who this happened to, and we were scattered, right, to the four corners of the earth, because before you had the transatlantic slave trade, right, you had what we call the sub-Saharan slave trade, where they took us, they knew who they were going for, they took us and they shipped us to the east, Japan, China, India. If you go there, you see Negroes there today, they just don't show them, right, on the TV, right, and we were scattered to the west, right, and that to fulfill the scripture that he would scatter us to the four corners of the earth. Now, once he scattered us to the four corners of the earth, he says in the last day he's going to wake us up. He's going to wake up a remnant of us. Not all of us, a remnant, and we're going to return. That remnant is going to return. Right? Now, who is the remnant? It's only the Most High knows who the remnant is. Only the Most High knows who wants to wake up and who's going to receive the gospel. The gospel isn't really religious and Christian or preach the gospel for everybody. No, the gospel is what we call good news. Good news to who? Good news to the Israelites. Why? Because the other nations, they know who they are. They can go back in history and trace their heritage. It's just us. It's just us that can't. We don't know. We're speaking a language that we were born into, right? We don't know what customs our ancestors kept. We don't know the feast days that we kept. We don't know the dresses that we had. We're not eating the food that we should eat. Because there's laws on food, dietary laws, right? And all that. So it's very important, right? Because the Most High has his hand here, right? And if you don't receive it, that's not on the Most High, that's on you. But here's the thing, at the end of the day, at the end of it all, judgment is going to come. Judgment is going to come, right? Now, to escape the judgment as an Israelite, we have to return to, you know that word repent? That word repent doesn't mean I'm sorry. That word repent, the actual etymology of the word, means to return. Return to what? Because the nations can't return to anything, because they weren't given their customs, they weren't given their heritage from the nations, only the Israelites were, but we discontinued from that, right? So we have to return. The only way the Israelites, any of the Israelites are going to get saved from the judgment is if they return back to their country. They have to return back to their country. Now, can they be perfectly in the land of captivity? No. What they're going to want to do in their mind is called the renewing of your heart. The mind is the heart, they're going to want to do, and they're going to do what they can in the land of their captivity, right? So with that, right, I mean, I could go into tons of things I could go into, right? But I don't really want to too much because there's a lot of places, there's a lot of history that, you know, we need to go into to actually learn. Best history, we've got our literature, right? And cards, number on there, there's number on there. You've got any questions whatsoever, because you've got to leave the inheritance for your son. You've got to leave the inheritance for your son. And this is not an inheritance. This is not an inheritance. We're at the bottom of all society. And yeah, one or two of us might be like crazy, but Daisy, you know, we have to sell ourselves out to the Illuminati. Beyonce, she has to sell herself out to the Illuminati. You know, anybody who's up there high is in Freemasonry, right? They're under Freemasonry and the Illuminati control and the what you call it, the hidden hand and those secret cabals, right? So, what the normal Israelites, the bulk of us are all on the bottom. And as my son always says, we are last high, first fire, last high, first fire. And like I work in a place where the only Negro here is me, and there's a good 25, 30 people. And I'm thinking, well, in Birmingham, in these days, this day and age, why am I Negro? Like I don't know Negro, that kind of sense, you like what I've got, right? Why is that the case? Because because they don't want to look great. So they hire one Negro, token Negro to basically like they're not racist, right? So but that we have a heritage, we have a home. This is our home here, and it's what we call Mount Zion, right? Tabernacle, that's our home, right? And they know it. They know the people in the land. They know, right? That's our home. That's the only temple in the land of Israel, in the south, right? The Jerusalem that people go to today, the religious people, that ain't the real Jerusalem. That ain't the real Jerusalem. When you go to the geography and you go into the history, that place is, I mean, most I say, that place is going to lay desolate until we return home, and then the land is going to wake up. The land can't wake up until we return, because the land is linked to us. So it can't flourish until Israel returns, come back, right? And it's, as I said, there's rituals that we have to do, or rites which we have to do to return, right? So yeah, so you can phone me anytime, go on the website, have a look and research.
Because, like I said, the reason we say, like I said, time's short. Like you got a son now, so you want to give something down to him, so he knows, he grows up knowing this stuff. We grew up in Christianity, religion, you know, Messiah, Jesus Christ came for, and we've been doing things wrong. So like little things like women, they're not meant to grow out their beards. You're growing out your beard. It's commanded that we're meant to not shave our beard. It's commanded that we're meant to have fringes in the borders of our garment. So fringes. That's a commandment. So your cousin knows. Either we're here, two Sundays out of the week, we're here, and you can come back.
I'm literally
You're from Birmingham, yeah?
I'm living in London.
Oh, you're living in London. There's Israelites all over London. So you'll find them. When you study and learn, trust me, because religion's not in. Yeah. And I know a lot of our families are going to be from, especially from like the Caribbean, Africa, Americas, they're all in Christianity and Islam. How many of them are Islam then? Yeah, and got taken into Islam. But it's time to drop religion and actually breathe and do what scripture says. We've got to actually do it, like, otherwise, when World War III kicks up, which World War III is coming, I'm telling you from now, you need to know what to do and how to. Look at all the things they tell us. Anytime they talk about our history starts in slavery. But when they start their history, it starts from Aristotle.
Right, Greece.
Yeah, Greece starts from all the names. Who are the rest of them? Aristotle,
Plato.
And when it's ours, the only mighty men they talk about are what is civil rights movement. How come we've got no great men who didn't have to fight for freedom? Because you know why? Because they know who our great men were. Our great men were Moses. Our great men were Elijah and Jeremiah, the people in the book. Because they were our ancestors. They were our great men, but they're not going to tell us that.
Yeah, but we also had Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa was an Israelite, right? We also had Septimius Severus, who took down Rome. He was an Israelite, but those Israelites was in the diaspora. They'd forgotten who they were. Do you understand? But the Most High still worked with them to do certain things over their history. You know. Right. Right. So and that's at least he stopped to listen. At least he was honest and true to his word. You know. And hopefully he might listen, and that seed might grow. You never know. But this is what it's about.